keep that in mind too. This is the shoulder up here at the top. And the sleeves don't appear to be pieced at all, but I think there are two. I think the seam is on the top and on the lower edge for aesthetic purposes, which we'll talk about. That's going to be where the Chenille fabric line is. So you're going to, the sleeve attachment will probably be very different from what you're used to. Okay. So we have a sleeve front, a sleeve back, and then we have a lower left front of the jacket. Okay. And keep in mind that, you know, the aesthetic of this jacket really depends on the choices of fabrics that you decide you're going to use. You could try to locate fabrics that look similar to those that are featured on the pattern envelope. Or you can, you can go with fabrics that you like. I would definitely hold them up, in a similar fashion to make sure that the colors that you're choosing, blues and yellows tend to look really good together. Excuse me. Like, unless you happen to like the red-purple look, that might not be something that you would want to use as a jacket color. I don't know. Even though it's a pretty combination to some people, it might not be what you're looking for. And because there's like an opportunity to use three completely different colors, you could go with something like, black, red, gray. You could make it in Christmas colors. You could do Easter colors. The combinations are absolutely endless. But I do recommend that you have like a little swatch notebook that you can keep little pieces of fabric in, and just be aware, that you're obviously going to need some fabrics that are different for your appliques, like this little flower that goes on the right back of the jacket. You're probably going to want something that will tie all of that together. So that's something else to keep in mind as well. Okay, and I'm splitting out on the last little cut here, the middle side front of the jacket. And the middle back left side of the jacket. Okay. Now, one thing you can do, I intend to line this jacket. It's called a self-lined jacket. And when we start working on it, I'll explain that a little bit more. I'm also going to, before I end the video, I will tell you what you need fabric-wise and notions-wise, so that if you choose to do this, you will have what you need if you've got the pattern. Okay, so there we go. Pattern is cut out for the most part. All right, and I find it easier to go through what I need on this this rather than the back of the pattern. If it's provided here, let's see. No, okay. All right, so to make the jacket and the tote bag, you will need cotton broadcloth, chambray. The underlining would be Osnaburg or another type of loosely woven muslin or cotton. Additional fabric may be needed to match stripes, plaids, or a one-way design. So all sizes are in this pattern envelope, from a small, which is size 8-10, to an extra large, which is size 20-22. So for the jacket, regardless of whether you're using 45-inch wide fabric or 60-inch wide fabric, you will need either 2 7/8 of a yard, or you will need, if you're using 60 inches, you will need 2 for a small or 2 1/8 for the medium large and extra large. And that would be the contrast upper right front, lower left front, lower right back. You will need 5/8 of a yard. Contrast 2, which would be the lower left side front and applique, 3/8 of a yard. Contrast 3, which would be the middle right front and the middle back, you will need 3/8 of a yard. And the contrast number 4, which is the middle side front, lower left back, you will need 3/8 of a yard. Contrast 5 is the upper left front and upper back, you will need 3/8 of a yard. And then for contrast 6, 7, and 8, those are all appliques. You will need a fabric remnant that is 7 by 9 3/4, 7.5 by 6.5, or 5.5 by 5.5. You will also need a paper-backed fusible webbing for your appliques. That's a half a yard. You will need an underlining for the jacket, which is either 1 7/8 yards at 45 inches wide or 1.5 yards at 60 inches wide. And the tote bag, using 45-inch wide or 60-inch wide fabric, you will need 1 1/8 yards. For your contrast, which is the pocket and the upper right back, you will need 1/4 of a yard. Contrast 2 is the upper left back, which is 1/4 yard. Contrast 3 is the right side, 3/4 of a yard. Contrast 4 is an applique, and you'll need a fabric remnant, which is 5.5 by 4.5. You will also need that paper-backed fusible webbing at 5.5 inches by 4.5 inches, and then you will need an underlining at 7/8 of a yard, whether it's 45 inches wide or 60 inches wide. And for your notions, you will need your matching thread. You will need 2 inches of wide webbing, which I don't see on the pattern itself. That might be what's on the inside of the handles. We can make that using a fusible fleece. So if you don't have a wide webbing, we'll just go ahead and go with the, I'll look in here and see why they've got that listed. Okay, so that's it. All right. I'm looking for wide webbing to see what we need that for. This is all about the jacket. I'll look for tote bag info here. Yes, okay. Just as I suspected. So for the tote bag, we've got that. Okay. Bring the remaining edges. Oh, okay, I was correct about that. All right. So for the straps, you're going to cut 2 pieces of 2-inch wide purchased webbing, the length of the guide for the strap. And then You're going to turn in a 1/2 inch on one long edge of strap piece, which is number 26, and you're going to press. And on the wrong side, you're going to pin one webbing section on each strap between the fold lines, having the ends even with the raw edges and based across the ends. Turn long raw edge of the strap to the inside along the fold line and encase the webbing. You're going to turn pressed edge of strap to the inside along the remaining fold line over webbing. Okay, so basically it is exactly the same thing as I just said. We could easily use our fusible fleece. So if you don't have webbing, you can get exactly the same length that's on that guide, which I swear was like maybe 22 inches. What did they say up here? Cut how much? They didn't. Alright, well we'll just measure this and see what it is so everybody will know. Wouldn't it be nice if I could find that piece? Yes, that would just be lovely. I know I put it over here. Okay. Nope. 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 Oh my goodness. For heaven's sakes. I love how things just tend to get up and walk away from me. Sleeve, sleeve. Good Lord. Alright, no. I can see funny edits, you know, if I knew how to edit. That would be fun. At this point, I'm sure you're thinking, oh yeah, that would be a delight. Okay, well, I can't find them. I don't know what happened to them. They just fell on the floor. I'm sure they're over there somewhere. But it looked like they were about that long. So, oh, there they are, right there. That was close. Excuse me. Okay, so this thing is 18 inches. Um, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and wait, 34 inches long. Okay, so 2 inches wide. What did I just say? 32 inches long, 31 inches long, somewhere in that range, because you could always just trim it to whatever length that you need. So I would say as long as you got 31 inches, somewhere in that range of a 2-inch wide piece of fusible fleece, you don't have to purchase webbing. Okay, so we got these pieces cut out. We're all ready to go. I will be filming the first portion of this is going to be on the jacket, and then we'll go to our tote bag. So if you want to get ready for that, I'm going to go ahead and try to put all of this information in the description box down below. So if you don't feel like listening to that whole thing that I just went through, you don't need to do that. I also wanted to talk about perhaps doing a little bit of needlework, design work. If you wanted to quilt some of these pieces, that's also an option. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I wanted to talk to you about the self-lining fabrics. I'm using flannel. Flannel, of course, is not an Osnaburg, nor is it an open weave muslin. But if you're concerned, I would say stick with what they suggest. You're going to need to know how to make that tighter weave piece of fabric work in this jacket. So basically when you're self-lining, what you're going to do is every single solitary piece of fabric. So let's say we have cut out our fabric, and this is it right here. This is a jacket front right here. Okay. And well, we'll just have to use 2 pieces of this. This is just twill that I'm making something else with. But we would take the front of our jacket and the lining of our fabric, 1 piece at a time, and we would stitch all the way around the edges. So we now have a piece of fabric that is right sides out and has a piece of the lining stitched to it. The reason we're doing that is because when we stitch these together, we need 4 pieces of fabric along the raw outer edge that we can then chenille. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of fabric that we can make into the, let me try to line that up where you can see it, the little fuzzily line that looks like lace. That's actually a raggedy piece of fabric. So that's how you self-line, and that's how we're going to get that little fluffy edge that looks like lace on the front of the pattern. Okay? So that's why you need to have that fabric. You can't actually make this jacket unless you have enough fabric to do a self-lining on every single solitary piece. Now we're actually going to start this pattern by doing the appliques. So each piece that has an applique will be appliqued first, and then you put your self-lining on. That's the only way you can do it. But it does make the opportunity for those pieces of fabric to really be just all out embroidered. You could do buttons, you could do 100 different things. So if you want to purchase the pattern and look at, what you're supposed to be doing, you can see a little bit more there on the front and the back view. If you decide you want to add some buttons or some actual hand embroidery, this is the time to do it before you have put pieces together, before you've put those 2 pieces together for 1 piece. And that will be made a little bit more clear as we're going along. So, but my point is, if you want to do the applique, you will be doing the butterfly on the piece right front A. You will be doing the heart onto the left back of the piece number 15, which is the back of that, I think. No, it's piece number 9. So piece 15 is the applique, piece number 9 is the piece that number 15 is being appliqued onto. You are also going to be doing a flower on to the middle front piece number 6, and a heart onto the lower right front, and then the big flower is on the back of piece number 12. So that's what they all look like in a row, starting at the top. Butterfly, heart, I think that's a flower, a heart, and then the big flower. Okay, so that's where we will pick up on that. I wanted to show you the fabrics that I'm using. Let's slide over here. Okay. So this is going to be the lining. I'm going to go ahead and open it. It is a beautiful soft cotton flannel. I've used it before. I've purchased it before on Amazon. I'm going to try to remember to link all these fabrics, which every single one of these was purchased on Amazon. Can't remember if there were third-party interactions for that or not. But anyway, it's a dream. It just feels like, gosh, I don't know. It's lovely. But it is 3 yards. And then I also have this horse fabric here. And I don't know if you can see, but that's kind of a houndstooth background that sort of mimics this just a little bit. And then I have a darker blue little horseshoe star design fabric. These are all quilting cottons, by the way. I happen to like the way they feel. They have a lovely hand and they hold up well. A jacket, you know, needs to hold up. And then for my yellow, and I'm kind of following this basic scheme here. I have this darling little cowboy themed print. There's like little dog footprints, and we have the horseshoes and the cowboy boots and the hats. And then the overall color that I see is sort of a creamy yellow with a little bit of blue and green thrown in. So the basic look here. And then I'll be using some solids for the appliques. I might even use denim. I have some old denim jeans, and I'm always thinking, what am I going to do with those? That might be what I use for my appliques. I don't know. All right. So thank you so much for sticking with me through this video. I appreciate every single one of you. I hope that on this Monday you found something inspiring, or you were able to inspire. And if you have any comments, I'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. You can find me at my Facebook page, Laurie's Heirloom Sewing. I'm also on Instagram at Laurie Campbell Eggleston. And thank you again for watching, and I will catch you next time.